Okay guys, we have done the layout. That's pretty fine. Let's go back to our default workspace. I like that, and I will reset it, and I will close the library because I don't like it. Fine. So now we want to animate. But you know guys, sometimes when you have finished your layout and you start to animate, find out like this is too small, or you want to adjust this background. So there are several ways to do that without destroying your layout and without complicating the animation. For example, let's say that this background here, the rectangle, you want to make it bigger. Let's first of all open the scale. Notice that if I start playing like this, okay, then I change the scale over here. And if I want to animate the scale, now I have a funny figure here, and like, where is the 100%? I will undo this. The best way when you're working with shapes is to readjust your shapes from the shape itself. So I will go to Contents, okay, Rectangle 1, and I can adjust the shape just from here. So for example, you remove the chain link, of course, and you say, okay, I want 260, that's a round figure. I love round figures. And then here, let's make it 60. Then look at it. Is that fine with you? Cool, it's better. So 260, 60, let's go to this shape. And also you will modify it from the contents itself of the shape. I will remove the chain link. I put 260, press tab to move to the second one, put 60. So we adjusted the size of these shape layers. So let's start animating the shape layer here, but let's do something, fancy. So we don't need the rectangle. We open the transformation because we want to animate the shape layer, okay, not the shape itself. Let's first of all try the scale here. If let's say after 1 second, so that is 1 second, I keyframe the scale. If I come back to the beginning and I say, okay, I want to remove the chain link and use this one. Look what's happening. It's totally not interesting to open from the center. Let's change the anchor point and see how it can affect the scale. I press Ctrl and go snap it on the corner, on the left corner in the middle. Now, if I play with the scale, it's opening pretty nicely. That's quite nice. But now there is more. How about if you take the anchor point and press Ctrl and also press Shift. So, you're moving on this line here. Cool. Now, if I change the scale, and that's what's going to happen. Not only is going to scale, but also it's going to move to settle at 100%. Fine, let's put it at 0 and let's scrap through and see the animation. Pretty cool. Let's see it in normal view. Not bad at all. Of course, it's slow. You can start now because you know much. Instead of 1 second, let's start at 15 frames. It will give us, less work later on. Now for Tanzania, because we did the animation like this for the background, it's better to animate it with the opacity. I guess I press P, now I press T for opacity, and then I will keyframe it at 100%, come backward and make it 0%. Okay, let's look at the animation now. It's not very good because notice Tanzania is starting to appear when the background did not settle and start covering under all the world. But this is fine. We'll readjust the timing. Let's do the same for here. Let's press Y to get the anchor point tool. Notice the shortcut is Y. And then I'll click, press Ctrl and Shift. That is Command and Shift on the Mac. Make sure I'm over here and take it to the outside. Notice how it's snapping on the border of the composition. Let's go to the next keyframe. That is 15 frames. And we have the background here. We are going to open the scale, of course. We keyframe the scale at 100%. Come to the beginning, remove the chain link, and write 0. Okay, here you are. Let's try our animation. Not bad, it's working very fine. We go to August, and we want the opacity. I'll open T. But now I know exactly how I want to animate. So I'll put it at 0 and keyframe. So I start the animation. Press K to go to the next visible keyframe, and then put opacity at 100%. Here you are. Okay, now we start animating the lower third. Well, it's gonna be pretty easy. I'll select all layers, twirl them up because I pressed something, I don't remember what it was. Select damage, forest, and the background. Open their position and go to 15 frames. Okay, and then keyframe using the stopwatch to start the animation. Come to the beginning, click and drag them out. Cool. Let's notice exactly what's happening here. They're coming in and it's pretty cool. Okay guys, fine. Let's do now the top news over here. I will select both layers. I think they are on top here. I will press S for scale and Shift R for the rotation. Cool. At 15 frames here, I'm gonna just keyframe the scale and the rotation for both of them. Come to the beginning here. Let's do something, quite nice. For the square itself, I'm gonna animate the rotation and put it at 180. Okay? But for the top news, I'm gonna do it at minus 180. As simple as this. And of course, I will reduce the scale to 0 in both of them. Okay? Here you are. So if you play the animation now, notice what's happening. They are rotating one, against the other. Watch it. If you want to give it more, for example, you can go for the background here and let's say you give it 360. That is a full rotation. So it jumps to full rotation over here. And notice now one is rotating much faster than the other one. Okay, let's stop here and we press N, remember, to bring the work area under to the timeline indicator. Now let's play all our animation and see, are we happy? Yes. In the next lecture, what we are going to do is to start timing all the layers and make them, quite interesting. Thank you very much for listening. I will see you in the next lecture. So now guys, in the last two lectures, if you followed along, and I hope so, you have created the design, you designed it very nicely, and you created the animation. Now it's time to tweak the animations and also to sequence. Let's start with Tanzania and its background. I press U to open the keyframes, as you remember. And you notice here it's looking very ugly because the text is appearing much before the background settles. And this is not good. You could now start clicking on the text layer and start moving it around. That's one way. But I wouldn't like to do that. I want to adjust them using the keyframes because I want the endpoint of both layers to be always, on the same line, just for aesthetic, and actually it's gonna be much better when I'm sequencing. I want to zoom in here a bit. So I can click on the zoom in time. Here you are. Let's take the timeline indicator to the beginning. And if you zoom in here, you notice I'm seeing more frames. Nothing else is happening. Let's look at it carefully here. I can take the first keyframe of opacity and move it to this side. The best way is to come just over here somewhere and start looking at it. Is it happening? No. Okay, so maybe it should start appearing from this here. Okay, so I'll take this keyframe and just bring it here. Here you are. Notice now it comes in the background and then Tanzania, the word, the text layer start appearing. I'm moving frame by frame. Cool. Now the animation is too fast. Okay, I can make it longer. And let's play it and see exactly what's going to happen. Okay, it looks good. Right, guys? Notice? Yes. Not bad at all. So I want to use exactly the same for the August here. So select the background of the date and select August. Press U. So I will go over to the opacity here, bring the first keyframe here, and bring the second keyframe here. If my animation is correct, it's going to appear just the same. Otherwise, I will have to tweak it. But it's appearing pretty nice here. Notice if I play it, very nice. Cool. Let's look at our layers now. Select them all, twirl up. Let's start sequencing the rest. We come to the beginning here. And let's think about it. Maybe we get top news to start with. So it appears, stays there for a second maybe, and then the place and the date will come in, then the title of the news will come in. That makes logic, right? It's not all about motion graphics and so on, but also you have to make it, very logical for the viewer. Okay, let's go with this concept. So we want news to come first. We leave it there. Then August and so on to come later. So we'll click on it and just drag it, let's say, I don't know, 1 second or 2 seconds. Let's zoom in. We can see better here. Fine, let's go to something like this. Okay, 1 second. Okay, I think it's gonna be too long. Then after another 1 second, you bring in the lower third. Let's play and see exactly, is it nice enough? Not bad, it's okay. We need also to look at the damaged forest and so on. We don't want them to come all at the same time. So the first one is the background, then the big title, for example, then maybe the small title just a bit later. Let's see it. Not bad. Let's deselect. Okay, so I think it's quite good. Of course, you can do much better than that. Top news, guys. In Tanzania on August 2045, there has been forest flood and heavy rains, and the damage is $20 million. Let's listen. Yeah, well, it works. So it's actually not only about motion graphics. It's about you creating motion graphics that make sense, and somehow your videos are making sense to the viewer. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope this was very useful animation and you can replicate it, even do much better than that. Remember, if you have any question, put them in the Q&A section of the course and I will be very happy to help you out. See you in the next lecture.